Hi friends, today I'm going to talk about INim. But first, who am I? My name is Tristram Oaten. I've been working professionally as a Python developer in London for just over a decade. I work in the British government's digital department, the Government Digital Service. As usual, none of the rad opinions expressed in this extremely chill talk have anything to do with my employer. They want to use Rust. My background. I came to the NIM world the long way round via Python, Go, MyPy, Clojure, Crystal, and Haskell, not necessarily in that order. I actually wrote Lisp professionally at a bank for a year in 2018. I'd been searching for a language to call home, with a dream combination of features that I know exist. From Python, I want a high-level language that doesn't make me think about pointers. From Go, MyPy, etc., I want static typing to tell me where I'm making 90% of my errors, and to prove my refactoring. From Clojure, I want macros, real macros, to let me bend the language to my will without asking permission first. From Haskell, I want functional purity to be a first-class citizen. Purity is the best feature of functional programming. I need it. From Go, Rust, Crystal, C, etc., I want to compile down to a static binary that I can ship anywhere, deploy my containers, or commit to my dot files with no runtime VM needed. And finally, also from Python and Clojure, I want REPL-DRIVEN development. Not just to noodle with on REPL.it, but to send blocks of code from my editor to update in real time. I would have settled for a language that had just 2 of these features. You can imagine how overjoyed I was to find NIM that had them all. We'll talk about REPL-driven development a bit during this talk. First things first, INim was created by this guy, and nearly all of the features I'm going to talk about today were implemented, at least initially, by him. Thanks, Andre. So after getting very excited by NIM and finding INim as the final piece of the puzzle, I was saddened to see that the project had been dead for nearly 2 years. So I asked Andre if I could take over maintenance of the project, and he was delighted. The lesson here, kids, is ask and ye shall receive. A week later, we set up a shared org to oversee INim's development, and we were off to the races. And before you know it, I was breaking the NIM CI and wondering how I, an idiot who doesn't really know NIM, got in such a position of power. Thanks very much to Timothy Core for helping me set up the INim CI, which essentially runs Nimble test on every PR and merge. Let's get into it. Installation is simple with Nimble. There are just 2 small dependencies, CLI-gen and noise, both to make our lives easier for command line access. Noise also gets us autocomplete, prompt history, and the ability to catch signals like Ctrl-D and Ctrl-C, unlike the simple built-in mechanisms NIM ships with. And CLI-gen generates a nice CLI interface from just native NIM functions. Big fan. INim runs on Linux, macOS, and Windows, basically anywhere NIM can run, which is pretty much anywhere C can run, including on my phone. Usage is fairly intuitive. Our goal is to be as close to IPython and similar shells as possible. Here we're writing a function on one line, making a mistake on the next, and calling the function on the last line. Behind the scenes, INim is simply appending the lines you type to a NIM file and compiling and running it for each line, echoing if needed. Compiler errors cause the bad line to be discarded from the log, as you see here. Without access to a live VM, indentation rules have to be statically set. Internally, we maintain a simple list of indent triggers, indenting by 1 if we see them at the end of the line, unindenting if necessary if we don't. A recent addition is readline style command line editing. Big shout out to Ryan Cotter, who recently wrote this and many other killer features. The NIM noise library is what we use to do this, and there are many more of its features like autocomplete that we've not taken advantage of yet. Like any good REPL, typing in identifiers echoes their value as well as their type. This is great for checking if the variable you've got that quacks like a duck is a duck. This is a great feature for students of NIM trying to learn the typing system by example. The way this works isn't by using runtime reflection. We simply look for the compiler warning complaining about values needing to be discarded. Like when you compile a literal without assigning it, for example this hello string. The error even tells us the type. Too easy. Because INim is shelling out to your local NIM compiler in the current directory, all packages, local and Nimble installed, are available. Here I'm cding into a web project of mine, and now in INim can import Jester, which is Nimble installed, but also my locally exported blog object from the Open Blog project. With the S flag, you can specify a NIM file to use as a starting point for that temp file we've been using behind the scenes, good for complex setups, DB initializations, etc. Pretty colors are an essential feature. We've just got simple colors for now, but the framework is ready for someone to hit us with a PR doing full syntax highlighting. Now for my favorite topic, REPL-driven development. In the Lisp world, it's common to have an editor tightly coupled with a long-running REPL process. You prototype your program by sending small lines or sections of code to it. Once you're happy, you can either run your app in a clean REPL to check it works, or pull in the code from the REPL and tweak it. Both of these techniques are now possible with INim. Here's VS Code, though plugins for Emacs and other editors are either being tested or could easily be built. After installing the NIM plugin, simply highlight the section you want to send to the REPL and hit Shift-Enter. The code block will be sent to the running INim shell and executed. Now, in addition to the compiler's immediate feedback, you can use INim for quick behavioral feedback too. That's it. I've never been as excited by a language as Nim, and I'm delighted to help build INim for this great community. Thanks all.